What's up, guys? Bang, bang. Here's your weekly update on Bitcoin, OnChain Metrics, and the market structure. First, let's take a look. Bitcoin's price is sitting right around $39,000. That's up about 10% over the last 24 hours or so. As we've seen, Russia invade Ukraine. At first, Bitcoin sold off, but ultimately has come roaring back. And that 10% gain is pretty telling about how the global market is looking at Bitcoin in times of geopolitical uncertainty. If we then look deeper into the actual Bitcoin network, what we can see with those statistics is we're sitting right around $750 billion market cap. 90% of the supply has already been issued and is in circulation. About $12.9 billion has been settled on-chain in the last 24 hours. And miners were paid about $36 million over the last 24 hours to actually secure the strongest computing network in the world, the Bitcoin network. Ultimately, Bitcoin's down 43% from its all-time high, but it's up about 20% from its local low. And so Bitcoin continuing to do exactly what it was designed to do, produce block after block after block of transactions, no matter what's happening in the world. And that's why Bitcoin continues to work exactly as designed. Now, if we jump into and look at Bitcoin compared to gold, S&P 500, NASDAQ, and TLT, what we can see here is that Bitcoin continues to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 145% over the last 10 years. It is absolutely incredible. It also maintains a 1.5 Sharpe ratio, which is double gold's and about double the S&P 500. Now let's dive into some of the on-chain metrics, and what we can see on-chain or in the market structure is the open interest. You can see here that since December or so, open interest, that's all that leverage, had been growing in size. But what we saw on the far right of this chart is that since Russia invaded Ukraine, there was quite a bit of a short squeeze there. A ton of that open interest has fallen off. Those are people who had leverage, and that move upwards, that 10% gain, wiped out a lot of that interest. This comes from the Blockware newsletter, which is fantastic. Will Clemente and the rest of the team looking at some of these metrics. Then if we continue and we look at the supply metrics, what we can see is that about 76.5% of Bitcoin supply has not moved in the last 6 months. It's an all-time high. That blue line just going up and to the right. 76.5% of all of Bitcoin's circulating supply has not moved in at least 6 months. Then if we continue, one of the things that I think is a long-term trend that's really important to watch is this idea of where the Bitcoin supply resides. Here, Willy Woo provided in this chart, green, that's that big one that jumps up at the beginning. That is whales, people with 1,000 Bitcoin or more. The pink is the retail traders. And what we saw is back in 2019 into 2020, that's when retail overtook the whales. Retail holds more Bitcoin now than whales, and it's only continuing to head in that direction. As retail gains more and more Bitcoin, the whales have less and less within their control. And so ultimately what we're seeing is that Bitcoin, it's serving as a great store of value, even in times of political instability. Bitcoin is something that not only has financial benefit, but there's a lot of people in the Ukraine that are either raising money via Bitcoin that avoids any sort of financial censorship, or they're taking their wealth, they're trying to get it into Bitcoin, and then they're heading for the border, whether it's Poland or elsewhere. They want to get out of the country. They want to get out of harm's way. They want to take care of their families. And Bitcoin is a tool to help them do that. Hope you enjoyed this quick deep dive on Bitcoin this week, and we'll be back at it again next week with Will and the rest of the team. Until then, have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.